HOA president thought she was untouchable when she kidnapped my 6-year-old daughter and forced her to work as her personal maid. She had no idea I was assistant commissioner of police on an undercover mission. When I returned, her perfect little kingdom crumbled, and justice was served cold. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The morning sun cast long shadows across Meadowbrook Estate as I drove through the pristine gates, my heart heavy with the weight of an impossible choice. My name is David Morrison, and 6 months ago, I was appointed Assistant Commissioner of Police. But today, none of that mattered. Today, I was just a desperate father trying to save his dying wife. My daughter Emma sat in the back seat, her small hands clutching her worn teddy bear. At 6 years old, she had the brightest smile and the kindest heart. Her dark curls bounced as she looked out the window, trying to be brave even though I knew she was scared. "Daddy, will mommy be okay?" Her voice was so small, so fragile. I glanced at her through the rearview mirror, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. "Yes, sweetheart. The doctors are taking good care of her." The truth was far more painful. My wife Sarah had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 3 months ago. The treatments were experimental and expensive, costing more than our insurance would cover. I had exhausted every option, taken every loan possible. Yesterday, the hospital had given me an ultimatum: pay the remaining balance of $200,000 within a week, or they would have to stop treatment. I had found one solution, just one. An undercover assignment that would take me deep into a trafficking ring operating across state lines. It was dangerous, the kind of operation that required complete immersion for months. But the department was offering a special bonus for this mission, enough to save Sarah. The catch? I would be completely off the grid. No contact, no visits, no phone calls. For 3 months, maybe more, I would disappear. That's why I was here at Meadowbrook Estate, the most prestigious gated community in the city. My childhood friend Marcus lived here with his family. He had agreed to take Emma in while I was gone. It was the only way. As I pulled up to the community center to complete the temporary guardianship paperwork, I noticed a woman standing near the entrance. She was tall, with severely pulled-back blonde hair and a pantsuit that screamed authority. Her lips were pressed into a thin line as she examined every car that passed, a clipboard clutched in her manicured hands. "Daddy, who's that lady?" Emma asked. "I don't know, sweetheart. I would soon learn. Her name was Patricia Henderson, but everyone called her Karen. She was the HOA president, and she ruled Meadowbrook Estate like her personal kingdom." I helped Emma out of the car, holding her small hand as we walked toward the entrance. Before we could reach the door, Patricia stepped directly into our path. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp and cold. "This is a private community. Do you have authorization to be here?" I maintained my composure, years of police training keeping my voice level. "Yes, ma'am. I'm here to meet with the Rodriguez family. I'm David Morrison." She looked me up and down with barely concealed disdain, then her eyes landed on Emma. My daughter shrank behind my leg, sensing the hostility radiating from this woman. "The Rodriguez family," Patricia repeated, checking her clipboard. "I see. And this child?" "My daughter, Emma. She'll be staying with the Rodriguez family temporarily." Patricia's expression shifted into something ugly. "I see. Well, Mr. Morrison, you should know that Meadowbrook Estate has very strict standards. We don't just accept anyone here. Even guests must meet certain criteria." My jaw tightened. I knew what she was implying. Marcus and his wife Sophia were immigrants from Mexico, successful doctors who had worked twice as hard to earn their place in this community. And this woman couldn't see past their last name. "Emma is 6 years old," I said quietly, pulling my daughter closer. "She's a child staying with family friends. I'm sure that's not against any HOA rules." "We'll see about that," Patricia sniffed. "I'll be watching closely." Very closely. She turned on her heel and walked away, but not before I saw her make a note on her clipboard. Emma tugged on my sleeve. "Daddy, why was that lady so mean?" I knelt down, cupping her sweet face in my hands. "Some people are just unhappy, baby. But don't worry. Uncle Marcus and Aunt Sophia love you very much. You're going to be safe here." If only I had known how wrong I was. Marcus and Sophia welcomed us with open arms. Their home was warm and filled with love, exactly what Emma needed. Their own children, twin boys aged 8, immediately took Emma under their wing, showing her their toys and promising to share their room with her. I spent the afternoon with Emma, memorizing every detail of her face, the sound of her laugh, the way she scrunched her nose when she was thinking. We played in Marcus's backyard, and for a few hours, I could pretend everything was normal. As evening approached, I had to say goodbye. This was the hardest thing I had ever done. I sat Emma down on the porch swing, holding both her hands in mine. "Sweetheart, Daddy has to go away for a little while. For work." Her lower lip trembled. "How long?" "A few months. But I promise you, I will come back. And when I do, Mommy will be better, and we'll be a family again." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I don't want you to go." My own tears fell freely now. I pulled her into my arms, breathing in her scent, feeling her small heart beat against my chest. "I know, baby. I don't want to go either. But I'm doing this for Mommy. You understand that, right? We need to help Mommy get better." She nodded against my shoulder, her small body shaking with sobs. "I'll be brave, Daddy. Like you. You're already the bravest girl I know." I kissed her forehead, her cheeks, trying to imprint this moment in my memory. "I love you more than all the stars in the sky. Never forget that." "I love you more than all the stars and all the moons," she whispered back, our special phrase. Marcus walked me to my car, his expression grave. "Don't worry, hermano. We'll take care of her like she's our own." "I know you will." "Thank you, Marcus. I owe you everything." "You owe me nothing. Just come back safe." As I drove away, I watched Emma in the rearview mirror, standing between Marcus and Sophia, waving with her teddy bear. She looked so small, so vulnerable. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I didn't know it would be the last time I saw her smile for a very long time. 3 weeks into my assignment, something went wrong at Meadowbrook Estate. Marcus was called away for an emergency surgery at the hospital. It was supposed to be routine, but complications arose. The surgery stretched from hours into days. Sophia, also a doctor, was called in to assist. They had no choice but to leave the children with their trusted nanny. But the nanny had a family emergency of her own that same night. She called her sister to come watch the children, but there was a gap of 3 hours where the kids were alone. That's when Patricia Henderson decided to conduct one of her surprise inspections. She had been watching the Rodriguez house like a hawk, waiting for any violation she could use against them. When she saw the children alone, she saw her opportunity. Patricia called child services, claiming the Rodriguez family was neglecting their children. By the time Marcus and Sophia returned home, exhausted from the grueling surgery, police and social workers were at their door. The investigation cleared them within 24 hours. It was obviously a malicious report. But during that chaos, something terrible happened. Patricia had convinced the social worker that Emma wasn't actually the Rodriguez's responsibility, that she was essentially a stray child with no legal guardian present. In the confusion and chaos, with Marcus and Sophia dealing with false allegations about their own children, Emma slipped through the cracks. And Patricia Henderson took her. Emma woke up in a strange room. The walls were sterile white, and the bed was hard and unfamiliar. She clutched her teddy bear and called out for Uncle Marcus, for Aunt Sophia, for her daddy. Instead, Patricia appeared in the doorway. Stop that crying immediately, Patricia snapped. You're in my home now, and there are rules. Where's Uncle Marcus? Emma's voice shook with fear. I want my daddy. Your daddy abandoned you. The Rodriguez family didn't want you. No one wants you. So I've decided to do you a favor and give you a purpose. Emma didn't understand. She was 6 years old. She knew her daddy loved her. He had promised to come back. You're going to earn your keep here, Patricia continued. Starting today, you're going to help around the house. Clean, cook, do laundry. If you behave, you'll get food and a place to sleep. But I want to go home. Patricia's face twisted with anger. She grabbed Emma's arm roughly, her nails digging into the soft skin. You have no home. You're nothing but a burden, and I'm the only one charitable enough to take you in. You should be grateful. She threw a maid's uniform at Emma. It was far too big, dragging on the floor when Emma put it on. Her small hands trembled as she tried to button it. That first day, Patricia made Emma scrub floors on her hands and knees. The cleaning solution burned her skin. Her small body ached from the unfamiliar labor. She cried silently, afraid of being punished for making noise. When she didn't clean fast enough, Patricia dumped the dirty water back on the floor and made her start over. When she accidentally broke a dish, Patricia locked her in the basement for 6 hours without food. When she begged to call her daddy, Patricia slapped her across the face and told her to stop lying about having a father who cared. Days turned into weeks. Emma's hands became rough and cracked. Her body grew thin from the meager scraps Patricia gave her. The light in her eyes dimmed. But worse than the physical abuse was the emotional torture. Patricia never stopped reminding Emma that she was worthless, that no one loved her, that she had been abandoned and forgotten. Your father knew what a burden you were, Patricia would hiss. That's why he left you. He's probably relieved to be rid of you. Emma would curl up in the small closet where she was forced to sleep, hugging her teddy bear, and whisper to herself, Daddy loves me. He loves me more than all the stars in the sky. He's coming back. He promised. Marcus was losing his mind with guilt and fear. The moment the chaos with child services had cleared, he had realized Emma was gone. He called the police immediately, filed missing person reports, hired private investigators. But Emma had seemingly vanished without a trace. The Rodriguez family was under intense scrutiny from the HOA. Patricia had rallied other board members against them, starting a campaign to have them removed from Meadowbrook Estate. She claimed they were unfit neighbors who endangered children. Marcus couldn't believe this was happening. He was a respected surgeon. His wife was a cardiologist. They had never had so much as a parking ticket. Yet this woman was systematically destroying their lives. What Marcus didn't know was that Patricia had falsified documents claiming she had been granted temporary emergency custody of Emma. She had connections in the county clerk's office, people who owed her favors. The paperwork looked legitimate enough that no one questioned it. When Marcus tried to report Emma's disappearance to the local police, the officer who took his report filed it but did nothing more. That officer's wife was on the HOA board. He had been told to ignore any complaints from the Rodriguez family. Marcus tried to contact me, to tell me Emma was missing. But I was deep undercover, no phone, no email, no contact with the outside world. His messages went into a void. Every night, Marcus and Sophia would drive through Meadowbrook Estate, looking for any sign of Emma. They put up missing posters. They contacted news stations. But Patricia had convinced the community that the Rodriguez family was making up stories to deflect from their own negligence. Those people are liars, Patricia told anyone who would listen. They lost that poor child through their own irresponsibility, and now they're trying to blame others. This is exactly why we need to be more careful about who we allow into our community. The racism was thinly veiled, and it worked. Many residents of Meadowbrook Estate were already predisposed to believe Marcus and Sophia were somehow less than them. Patricia's narrative fed into their prejudices perfectly. But Marcus refused to give up. Every day, he searched. Every night, he prayed. He had made a promise to his best friend to protect Emma, and he had failed. That guilt ate at him like a cancer. 2 months had passed. Emma had almost forgotten what it felt like to be hugged, to be told she was loved, to be treated like a child instead of a servant. She woke before dawn every day to prepare Patricia's breakfast. She scrubbed toilets, washed windows, did laundry, and cooked meals. Her small hands were covered in cuts and burns. Her back ached constantly from work no child should ever do. Patricia had friends over for lunch one afternoon. They sat in the pristine dining room, laughing and gossiping while Emma served them food, struggling to carry trays that were too heavy for her small frame. "Patricia, dear, who is this little girl?" one of the women asked. "I've never seen her before." "Oh, just a charity case I took in," Patricia said dismissively. "Her parents abandoned her. I'm teaching her the value of hard work. She needs to learn she can't expect handouts in this world." The women nodded approvingly. "How generous of you." Emma wanted to scream that it was a lie, that her daddy loved her, that he was coming back. But she had learned that speaking up only led to punishment. So she kept her head down and continued serving. Later that evening, as Emma scrubbed the kitchen floor, she found a small crack in the tile. Something about that crack broke something inside her. Maybe it was because she felt just as broken, just as damaged beyond repair. She sat down in the middle of the wet floor and began to cry. Not the silent tears she had learned to cry, but deep, racking sobs that shook her whole body. "Daddy, please come back," she whispered. "Please. I miss you so much. I'm trying to be brave, but I'm so tired. Please, please come back." Patricia found her there 20 minutes later. Instead of comfort, she dragged Emma up by her hair. "You're getting my floor dirty with your tears." Patricia screamed. "Clean it again. And no dinner for you tonight. Maybe hunger will teach you gratitude." She threw Emma back down onto the wet floor. Emma's head hit the tile, and stars exploded across her vision. But she didn't cry out. She had learned that showing pain only made Patricia hit harder. That night, locked in her closet, Emma held her teddy bear close and made a decision. She would run away. She didn't know where she would go, but anything was better than this. Tomorrow. She would leave tomorrow. Emma woke before dawn, as she did every day. But this time, instead of going to the kitchen, she crept toward the front door. Her heart pounded so hard she was sure Patricia would hear it. Every step felt like it took an eternity. Her small hand reached for the doorknob. It was locked. Of course it was locked. Emma tried the back door. Locked. Every window on the ground floor had been secured. Patricia had turned her home into a prison. Panic rose in Emma's chest. She was trapped. Truly trapped. She heard footsteps on the stairs. Patricia was awake. Emma ran back to the kitchen and started preparing breakfast, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the eggs. Patricia entered the kitchen and immediately sensed something was off. Her eyes narrowed. "What were you doing?" "Nothing, ma'am, just starting breakfast." Patricia grabbed Emma's arm and dragged her to the front door. She pointed at fresh scuff marks on the floor near the entrance. "You tried to run away." "No, I dash." The slap came hard and fast, knocking Emma to the ground. Her cheek burned, and she tasted blood in her mouth. "You ungrateful little brat." Patricia screamed. "After everything I've done for you. Giving you shelter, food, a purpose." She kicked Emma in the ribs. The pain exploded through her small body. "You want to leave? Fine. But first, you're going to learn what happens to people who disappoint me." Patricia dragged Emma down to the basement. It was cold and dark, with a concrete floor and walls. She threw Emma inside and slammed the door. "You'll stay here until you remember to be grateful." Emma heard the lock click. She was alone in the darkness. Hours passed. The cold seeped into her bones. She had no food, no water, only her teddy bear for comfort. She thought about her daddy. He always made her feel safe. She tried to remember his face, his voice, the way he would sing to her before bed. "Daddy, where are you?" she whispered into the darkness. "Please hurry. I don't know how much longer I can be brave." 3 months and 4 days after I left, my mission ended. The trafficking ring had been dismantled, and I was finally free to return to my life. The bonus money had been transferred. Sarah's treatment could continue. I drove straight to Meadowbrook Estate, my heart racing to see Emma. When I arrived at Marcus's house, something was wrong. Marcus opened the door, and I barely recognized him. He had lost weight, dark circles under his eyes. "David." "Oh God, David." Cold dread washed over me. "Where's Emma?" Sophia appeared behind him, tears streaming down her face. "They told me everything. The emergency surgery, the false child services report, Emma's disappearance. How they had been searching for 3 months. I couldn't breathe. My baby girl, gone. Tell me everything about this Patricia Henderson." I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I had Patricia Henderson's entire life spread across Marcus's dining room table. She was a bitter woman with 3 failed marriages and a sealed file from 15 years ago, child endangerment charges that had been dismissed. My blood ran cold. My daughter was with this woman. I spent 2 days conducting surveillance on Patricia's house. On the 3rd day, I saw her through a window. Emma. My baby girl, wearing a maid's uniform, carrying a laundry basket too heavy for her small frame. I nearly broke down the door. But I needed evidence. I needed to ensure Patricia would never hurt another child. I called District Attorney Williams. "I have a child trafficking case that requires urgent attention." District Attorney Sarah Williams was the toughest prosecutor in the state. When I explained the situation, her voice turned to ice. "Give me 48 hours. Those were the longest hours of my life." But DA Williams worked her magic. She obtained warrants, subpoenaed records, and discovered Patricia's falsified custody documents. She interviewed neighbors who had seen Emma working through windows. She found security footage showing Patricia leading Emma away the night she disappeared. Most damning was footage from Patricia's own home security system. Hours of recordings showed Emma being beaten, starved, forced to work until she collapsed. "We have everything," DA Williams said. "We move tonight." At exactly 2:37 a.m., a tactical team surrounded Patricia Henderson's house. I was there, wearing my badge and my authority like armor. Marcus stood beside me, refusing to stay behind. "This is the police. We have a warrant for the immediate removal of a child from these premises and the arrest of Patricia Henderson." Lights flooded the house. Officers moved into position. I heard shouting from inside. Patricia appeared at the front door in her robe, her face twisted with indignation. "This is outrageous. You can't just dash. Patricia Henderson, you're under arrest for child endangerment, child labor trafficking, kidnapping, assault of a minor, and falsification of legal documents." I read her rights as officers moved past her into the house. "This is a misunderstanding. That child was abandoned. I was providing her with dash." "Save it for the judge," DA Williams said, stepping forward. "We have all the evidence we need." But I wasn't listening anymore. I was pushing past Patricia, into the house, calling my daughter's name. "Emma. Emma, sweetheart, it's Daddy. Where are you?" I heard a small sound from upstairs. A closet door. I ran, taking the stairs 3 at a time, following that sound. The closet was tiny, barely big enough for a child. Inside, curled in a ball, was Emma. My heart shattered and reformed in the same moment. Emma. Baby. It's Daddy. I'm here. I'm here now. She looked up at me with eyes that had seen too much pain. For a moment, she didn't seem to recognize me. Then her face crumpled. Daddy? Yes, baby. It's me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I reached for her, and she threw herself into my arms. She was so light, so fragile. I could feel her ribs through her thin nightgown. She sobbed against my chest, and I held her like I would never let go again. You came back, she cried. The mean lady said you wouldn't, but I knew. I knew you'd come back. I will always come back for you. Always. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. I love you more than all the stars and all the moons, she whispered, and I broke down completely, holding my brave little girl and crying with her. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his own tears falling freely. Dios mío. Emma. I'm so sorry, Mija. Emma reached for him too, and we both held her, this child we had failed to protect but who had somehow survived. Downstairs, Patricia was being led away in handcuffs, still screaming about her rights, about how she had done nothing wrong. I wanted to go down there and make her feel every ounce of pain she had inflicted on my daughter. But Emma was more important. She needed me now. A paramedic came up to examine Emma. She had bruises, cuts, signs of malnutrition, and psychological trauma. They wanted to take her to the hospital immediately. I'm coming with her, I said. It wasn't a question. Of course, sir. As we carried Emma out to the ambulance, residents of Meadowbrook Estate had gathered, woken by the commotion. They stared in shock as Patricia was loaded into a police car. One woman stepped forward, someone who had been at Patricia's lunch when Emma served. Her face was white with horror. We didn't know. That little girl, she said it was charity work, teaching her responsibility. We didn't know. I looked at her with cold eyes. You didn't want to know. You saw a child working as a servant and convinced yourselves it was fine because Patricia told you what you wanted to hear. The woman stepped back, shame written across her face. Good. They should feel ashamed. Emma spent 3 days in the hospital. She was dehydrated, malnourished, and covered in injuries. But the physical wounds would heal. It was the psychological damage that worried the doctors most. She wouldn't let me out of her sight. If I even stepped away to use the bathroom, she would panic, crying that I was leaving again. I stayed by her bed 24 hours a day, holding her hand, singing to her, promising her over and over that I was never leaving again. Sarah had been moved to a better hospital with the money from my assignment. When she heard what happened to Emma, she checked herself out against doctor's orders and came to us. The reunion between mother and daughter was beautiful and heartbreaking. They held each other and cried, both of them so fragile but finding strength in each other. My baby, Sarah whispered, kissing Emma's face. My brave, strong baby. Mommy, you're okay. Daddy said you would be okay, and you are. Yes, sweetheart. I'm getting better every day. And now that we're together, I'll get even better. Child psychologists came to evaluate Emma. They diagnosed her with severe PTSD, anxiety, and trauma-related stress disorder. She would need years of therapy to process what had happened to her. But she was alive. She was with us. And we would face this together as a family. Marcus and Sophia visited every day, bringing Emma's favorite foods, toys, and books. They apologized constantly, though I kept telling them it wasn't their fault. We should have fought harder, Marcus said. We should have torn that community apart looking for her. You did everything you could, I told him. Patricia had the system rigged. She had corrupt officials and prejudiced neighbors on her side. But it's over now. She's going to pay for what she did. And pay she would. The trial of Patricia Henderson became national news. D.A. Williams made sure of that. She wanted everyone to see what this woman had done, wanted to send a message that child abuse would not be tolerated. The evidence was overwhelming. Security footage, testimony from neighbors, medical reports documenting Emma's injuries, the falsified custody documents, everything. Patricia's defense tried to claim she was providing discipline and structure to an abandoned child. They tried to paint her as a well-meaning woman who had made mistakes. Then D.A. Williams played the security footage. The courtroom watched in horror as Patricia beat Emma. As she starved her. As she forced a 6-year-old child to work like a servant. The jury couldn't look away, though many were crying. Patricia's face went white. She knew she was finished. But the most powerful moment came when Emma testified. She was so small in the witness stand, but she was brave. She told the truth in her clear, honest voice. The mean lady said my daddy didn't love me. She said he left me because I was bad. But I knew it wasn't true. My daddy loves me more than all the stars in the sky. He promised to come back, and he did. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The defense attorney tried to cross-examine her gently. Emma, did Mrs. Henderson ever tell you she was trying to help you? No, Emma said simply. She hurt me. She said I was worthless. She locked me in the dark. That's not helping. That's being mean. The attorney had no response. When it was my turn to testify, I kept my composure until D.A. Williams asked me about seeing Emma for the first time after 3 months. I saw my daughter, who I had left healthy and happy, curled up in a closet, afraid of her own shadow, believing she had been abandoned. Patricia Henderson didn't just abuse Emma physically. She tried to destroy her spirit, to make her believe she was worthless and unloved. She tried to kill who Emma was. My voice broke. But she failed. Because my daughter is stronger than Patricia ever gave her credit for. Emma survived. And now Patricia will face justice. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Patricia Henderson's sentencing hearing was packed. Victims of her past abuse came forward, telling stories of how she had mistreated them over the years. The pattern was clear: Patricia was a cruel woman who enjoyed having power over others. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who had a reputation for being tough but fair. She listened to everything, her expression growing darker with each testimony. Finally, it was time for victim impact statements. I had prepared something, but when I stood up, all my prepared words disappeared. Your Honor, my daughter is 6 years old. She should be learning to read, playing with friends, being a child. Instead, she has nightmares every night. She's afraid of the dark. She won't let me out of her sight. She flinches when people raise their voices. Patricia Henderson took 3 months of my daughter's life and filled them with pain, fear, and abuse. She made Emma believe she was worthless, that no one loved her. She worked her like a slave and beat her when she couldn't keep up. Emma will carry these scars for the rest of her life. But she will also carry the knowledge that justice was served, that the person who hurt her was held accountable. I looked directly at Patricia, who sat with her head down. You tried to break my daughter. You failed. She's stronger than you will ever be. Then Emma surprised everyone. She stood up and asked to speak. The judge allowed it. Emma walked to the front of the courtroom, holding Sarah's hand. She looked at Patricia without fear. You were mean to me, Emma said, her voice clear. You hurt me and said nobody loved me. But you were wrong. My daddy loves me, and my mommy loves me, and Uncle Marcus and Aunt Sophia love me. I have lots of love. You don't have any love. That's why you're so mean. I feel sorry for you. The simple wisdom of a child reduced the courtroom to tears. Even the judge had to wipe her eyes. Patricia finally looked up, and for the first time, I saw something like remorse in her eyes. But it was too late. The judge delivered the sentence, 25 years in prison without possibility of parole for 5 years. Additional charges of corruption were being filed against the county clerk who had helped her. Mrs. Henderson, the judge said, you took a position of power within your community and used it to abuse a helpless child. You showed no mercy, no compassion, no humanity. Therefore, this court will show you no leniency. You will spend the remainder of your productive years behind bars, where you can no longer harm children. Perhaps in that time, you will learn the value of the compassion you failed to show. Emma Morrison. Patricia was led away in handcuffs. She didn't look back. It was over. 6 months after the trial, Emma had her 7th birthday party. We held it at a park, with balloons and cake and all her friends from her new school. Marcus and Sophia were there with their boys. Sarah was there, her hair growing back after completing chemotherapy. The doctors said she was in remission. We had won that battle too. Emma ran around with the other children, laughing and playing. She still had nightmares sometimes. She still needed therapy twice a week. But she was healing. Slowly but surely, she was becoming herself again. I watched her blow out her birthday candles, her face glowing with joy. Sarah squeezed my hand, tears of happiness in her eyes. Make a wish, sweetheart. I called out. Emma closed her eyes tight, thought for a moment, then blew out all 7 candles in one breath. Everyone cheered. Later, when the party was winding down, I asked her what she wished for. She hugged me tight. I wished that we could always be together. All of us, forever. That's my wish too, baby. The case against Patricia Henderson sent shockwaves through Meadowbrook Estate. The HOA was investigated, and several board members resigned in disgrace. New laws were passed to protect children in temporary custody situations. Marcus and Sophia became advocates for families facing discrimination, turning their pain into purpose. The Rodriguez family remained in Meadowbrook Estate, respected and admired by a community that had learned a hard lesson about prejudice and cruelty. As for us, we focused on healing. Sarah continued her cancer treatment successfully. Emma attended therapy twice a week and slowly began to smile more often. 1 year after her rescue, Emma stood in our backyard, looking up at the stars. I came outside and sat beside her. What are you thinking about, sweetheart? About how many stars there are, she said softly. You said you love me more than all the stars in the sky. I do. That's a lot of love. The biggest amount possible. She was quiet for a moment. Daddy, sometimes I still get scared. I have bad dreams about the mean lady's house. I know, baby. That's normal. What happened to you was scary. But I'm getting better, right? Dr. Sarah says I'm making progress. You're making amazing progress. You're the bravest person I know. She leaned against me. Do you think the mean lady ever looks at the stars? The question surprised me. Maybe. Why? Because if she does, maybe she'll remember that I have more love than she ever did. And maybe she'll understand why she lost. The wisdom of a 7-year-old child never ceased to amaze me. Emma had taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and was somehow finding meaning in it. You know what, sweetheart? I think you're going to be okay. Better than okay. I think you're going to be extraordinary. Because I'm brave. Because you're compassionate. Even after everything, you don't hate her. You pity her. That takes a special kind of strength. Emma smiled up at me. I learned it from you and Mommy. You always tell me to be kind, even when it's hard. We sat together under the stars, father and daughter, survivors of a nightmare that had tested us both. But we had made it through. Together. Patricia Henderson served her full sentence of 25 years. She died in prison at the age of 73, alone and forgotten. Emma grew up to become a child advocate, dedicating her life to helping children who had been abused or lost in the system. She founded a non-profit organization and helped pass laws protecting vulnerable children. Sarah remained cancer-free, and our family grew stronger with each passing year. Marcus and Sophia remained our closest friends, the bond between our families unbreakable. Emma eventually had children of her own, and she raised them with the same love and compassion she had received. She told them her story, not to frighten them, but to teach them that even in darkness, hope survives. And every night, when she tucked her own children into bed, she would kiss their foreheads and whisper, "I love you more than all the stars in the sky." And they would answer back, "We love you more than all the stars and all the moons." The cycle of love continued. The woman who had tried to break that cycle was gone, forgotten by all except those who used her story as a warning. In the end, love won. Justice was served. And Emma Morrison proved that no matter how much someone tries to destroy you, they cannot take away your humanity, your strength, or your capacity to love. This is her story. This is her triumph.